All right. Well, what do you think, Jeremy? You looking good? Feeling good?
Michael Cunniff. Good to see you, brother. How you been?
I have been well, man. I'm telling you, I have been looking forward to this for some time since the last time we were on, but we weren't in person, right?
We were not, and this is a very special occasion. Out of 320 plus episodes of the Good Neighbor podcast, this marks the first episode in person at a live studio. Thanks to this man right here. We are shout out to Mike. He's a great man.
He's a gem. What a gem.
Yes. What a
well,
gem.
I'm happy to have you here. Obviously, because we do so much of the remote stuff, it is good to have it in person. It was kind of one of those things where like people wanted to only do in person, and then we got into the hybrid of the two. So I'm just super excited to have you here, and we're gonna roll together.
It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to say is that out of all those 320 plus episodes we've done, never had a repeat guest until today. So you should feel honored. My friend.
I do.
You are the first repeat guest of the Good Neighbor podcast.
Yeah, you know,
Congratulations.
I feel honored, but above and beyond that, you have had a lot of friends of mine on your podcast. You've interviewed them, and I appreciate that because they have come back and said how that impacted them, and how it helped their business.
That's great to hear.
So it's one of those things that we don't really get to see and feel it afterwards, but I can tell you with sincerity that everyone who's been on your podcast absolutely loved it. All right, so let's dive in. You ready?
Yeah, no, I will
right.
say one thing about that. Like, speak to so many business owners out there, and they're living in the shadows, right? It's all like you have to connect with your customers somehow, and you got to be authentic. And the best way to do that is to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
It's something I've learned for myself throughout my journey, and I'm getting more and more comfortable the more I do this. So, I want to start with something. Everybody that's been following my content for a while knows I like to say that I've been doing a lot of personal growth and development and spiritual work on the north side of 40. And I've been putting in a lot of work over the last 5 or 6 years, and I haven't really been seeing the results until recently. Something happened recently where I had a back injury. I was having a rough year, and I hurt my back. And I got very depressed, and I was laid out and couldn't do anything, couldn't work. And I was in a dark place, and something happened towards the end of that. I had a little flash of light that came into my world, and I saw hope at the other side of that. And it made me realize that everything is not permanent. And that propelled me, something inside me. And I knew I needed to be out there more and making content and sharing content. And as I explored this more and kind of went deeper inside my mind, I realized that a lot of what I was doing in terms of the marketing and the business was coming from the wrong place. I was coming from a place of scarcity and not a place of abundance. And it got me thinking about the mindset as that applies to marketing and how so many business owners out there struggle with their mindset. I speak to countless business owners that tell me, Jeremy, I've tried all sorts of marketing. Nothing works. I grow my business through word of mouth and referrals. Clearly, marketing works, right? The question is, why does it work for one business and not for the other? So today I want to dig into these topics, and we're going to do a bunch of different segments. But I have a master here. Mike's been doing marketing for quite longer than I have. So I really want to pick his brain and get some insights and kind of share with you guys what I've learned on my personal journey. So with that being said, I want to ask you, why do you think it is that marketing would work for one business and not for the other?
Well, I'll start by saying that it is extremely important to understand like scarcity model and that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
All right. I think it goes above and beyond sales. It bleeds into lifestyle. I think when you have an approach of gratitude, I think it creates more opportunity. Out of opportunity comes abundance, right? And we start to move away from the scarcity model and toward the abundance model, right? Understanding that we can attract things toward our life. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to tell you that you could, manifest $1 million. It's not going to happen, but you can manifest the good behaviors that can get you toward your goal, right? I've said for a long time that a goal can fail, but a strategy can scale. So oftentimes people are emotionally tied to a lot of things. So if you're in a scarcity model, you're going to be emotionally tied to your goals. So if your goal is to say post every day on social media, and then you're not able to follow through on that goal, it's like a personal thing. So now not only are you working in a scarcity model where you're a bit concerned where your next deal is going to come from, or your next lead or your next paycheck, right, is going to come from, it gets you a little nervous, concerned, emotions rise. But if you approach it with strategy, then you can shift the strategy.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like a recipe. I've said before, if I wrote the recipe and created the recipe and it's my family recipe and then you don't like it, I feel kind of bad about that, emotionally tied to that, right? But if we were to just look at the recipe and I were to ask you how you feel about that, you can strategize the recipe to be better next time. It might not be personal, right? You might not want a ton of sugar in your thing. You might not want a certain salt or whatever that may be. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is you have to kind of mold and model your marketing toward the person or your end result, your end client, like who that is. So I think it's important to have consistency, to have gratitude, and to lean into the things that are benefiting your business the most. I think that's how you move away from scarcity and move into abundance.
100%.
Yeah.
Great stuff there. And
Thank you.
One of the things that occurred to me recently that helped me with my shift of mindset is I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was talking about how I had another conversation, and I kind of showed up to this particular discussion with the mindset, and it wasn't a sales conversation, but it was, a collaboration, trying to figure out if I could help in some way. And I approached it from a different lens. It wasn't there trying to speak from on high and dictate and tell him what to do. I showed up with curiosity. I listened. I really, really listened. And I tried to see how I could help. What could I do to help? And I after that conversation, I realized, what if I took those principles and actually applied that to my day-to-day, not just in conversations, not just with my wife, but like every interaction that I have with any person anywhere. What would happen in my life if I started doing that? And so I gave it a try, and it's almost like, and you said you don't want to talk about woo-woo, so it's like magic starts to happen.
Yeah.
And I think if you operate in that way in all that you do, and you come from a place of authenticity and you truly believe that, what tends to happen is that opportunity starts knocking on your door, and you just start manifesting.
That's it. I'm 100% into that. So I like to get away from the ideas that like it's magic. It feels like magic, and it makes you feel so good, right?
It's not magic.
But you can't call it magic, right? You have to dial into what that actually is, and that's what we're doing. That's actually what we're doing today. And I think, first off, I got to give you a fist bump, right? Because I think as adults, first and foremost, and then we go more into two men having a conversation. It's not always easy. I just said the other day, I mean, it's tough sport being a man. It's tough sport. It really is. And I'm telling you, you think I'm being, a typical guy. I'm really not. There are a lot of things that go into each day that men do not share, and do not put out there. You ask a friend, how you doing? Great. It's always the answer you're going to get. I don't think I'm ever going to. I'll never tell you like, oh, I'm doing horrible. It's terrible. Which in most cases you're not. And if you need help, you reach out and you ask for help. Yeah. But if you're right on that margin of like, I want to talk to somebody, men don't really do that. And you said something that you started being more intentional with the things that you were doing and your habits, right? 100%. Which led you to more clarity in the things that you want.
Unbelievable.
So you're able to manifest that,
Yep.
and you were able to utilize that in your day to day. You said most specifically with your partner, with your wife, it's absolutely incredible how sales mirror life and lifestyle. Oftentimes people think there's like this serious psychology to it. There's always psychology to every sale, but it's not a manipulative psychology. It's a simple set of standards and things that you can do every day. Consistency. We go back to that. These consistent things that you can do day in and day out.
Consistent habits,
right?
Compound tremendously in short periods of time.
Yeah, it could be something, and I'll get away from the sales. It could be something as simple as maybe picking up the house when you get home and not realizing that little simple thing might help your wife to have a better day, or vice versa. She might pick up something for you.
Speaking of that, let me go on a tangent here, because this is powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I had this hernia. I still have pain through my leg. It's a L5, S1 lumbar disc pain, whatnot. And I took my son to Chick-fil-A the other day, and the leg started throbbing. And all I wanted to do was get home and lay down. And I was at Chick-fil-A, and often in the past, the pain would hijack me, and I would go down that rabbit hole. And I felt myself kind of getting sucked back in to my old identity, this scarcity mindset identity. And instead of getting worried about it and afraid, I engaged it, and I actually checked with Chat GPT and started curiously approaching it with curiosity, asking it to like, what's going on here from a physiological standpoint, from a psychological standpoint. And what happened was I felt at ease. I was like, okay, this will pass. It gave me some cool grounding exercises. It explained that wasn't the time for productivity. That wasn't the time for insight. That was the time for reflection and grounding. So I went home and I noticed the kitchen was dirty. I really wanted to go upstairs and go to sleep, but my wife had mentioned before she went to the gym that she'll take care of it when she gets home. I made a decision, and my mom said, I'm not a man that leaves these things for my wife. I want her to come home to a clean house. So I cleaned the kitchen. Something magical happened in doing that. Through the cleaning of the kitchen, the pain subsided. And when I was done, not only did I not want to go upstairs and lay down, I wanted to go work, and the creativity, the insights started streaming back. So like, just to speak to how this translates to running and owning a business, when you get your house in order and you get your mind right, this stuff translates and you start getting downloads and insights. It's really incredible. I know you said you can't call it magic, but it feels really magical.
Can I share something with you?
Please.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching. You're going to run this back, and you're going to see. We can see ourselves on a monitor over here, and you're going to see me listening to him, and you're going to see my smile start to get bigger and bigger. Right? I'm going through the exact same thing you're going through. I play hockey. There was a week I played 4 games in 1 week. One of them was at the Amarant. And I had something happen with one of the players, and my thigh, my leg had kind of gone backwards, the opposite direction that I was skating. Flash. I saw a flash, and I didn't go to the ice. This guy was chirping me. I'm just like, stop talking to me. Like, there's something wrong. And I went to the bench, and my lower back, my lumbar, I mean, I could barely move. I even continued playing the hockey game. I now have the same numbness going down the side of my leg here. I've learned about how it's interconnected to your pelvis. I won't go off on a tangent because that's not what this is about right now. But you and I have an extremely similar scenario, and we never talked about this like prior to going into this. So I'm fascinated to hear you say it because I'm going through something similar. And if we're sitting next to each other and don't even know that, so that goes along with like, you know, talking and putting it out there. I'm sure there's people that are going to watch this that are going to have kind of the same feeling, that are getting into this and saying, you know, man, I'm just getting old, or I'm not. You just got moving. You got moving again, and you feel better.
Yeah, as long as it's not emergency pain, right?
Yeah.
If you're in pain that requires medical attention, obviously,
right.
So much of the pain and the suffering that we face, it's unnecessary suffering, right? You don't need to. I'm learning every day how to leverage discomfort, whether it's pain, stress, anxiety, and use it as a tool for growth. And when you do that, you change your mindset around it, it just feeds into everything else.
So
it's really...
how is this showing up in your day-to-day content?
So recently started, so I realized that I've been through, I'll be 46 soon. So I've been through the blender, had tons of life experiences. Good,
there's
bad,
people that
ugly.
are going to see this that are going to be like, "Are you kidding? You're like young. You're a whippersnapper."
But I've always had like all these little flashes of insight, all these ideas, all these things stored inside my head, and there's always been a lack of clarity and kind of funk around it, and trying to access it has always been a problem, and it's bled over into every way I showed up as a human being. And this thing with the back injury, I say it's the worst, best thing that's ever happened to me because of the clarity I have now. When I was able to reframe that in my mind, it's like the floodgates opened and all of these insights. And I said to myself, I need to share some of this with humanity. If what I'm saying can help one person out there, I need to get it out there. And so I made that Instagram video. I don't know if you, so just me talking about these things.
I follow along. I see it all. I love it.
And that was like the start of it. And I was still unclear. Like, I do marketing. I wasn't happy doing marketing. My clients weren't happy. Nothing was really going well. And I was looking for an escape plan. And through this, I realized, like, I thought maybe I needed to pivot and not do this anymore. I had never really defined my life's purpose. I had never really thought about why I'm on this earth. And it became crystal clear to me, I'm here to help people, right? And what's the best way to do that? Well, I'm already in a business helping people with marketing. And once I changed the frame around what I was trying to do and stopped thinking about making money and this whole scarcity mindset and just taking the pressure off that and saying, okay, how can I show up, listen, and help and be of service? Everything shifted for me. It was really profound. And I'm going through it every day. And this is like recent. I'm talking like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave us on something. I think this will round the corner on episode 1. I think we're bringing about 9 episodes into this. You should be able to see it in a full format. So you might be watching it in full format, or you might be watching the first part of this episode, and you can move on to episode number 2. I'm going to end episode number 2 with us on something I saw the other day. Measure your success based on how much fun you're having. Measure your success based on how much fun you're having.
Wise words.
All right. Let's move on. Mindset, I think we're coming up with next, right? Let's move on to mindset. Cool. All right. You like that format?
That was cool.
Okay. So that's 12 minutes.
How'd that go?